Hello, this is a Tradesight market recap. I'm going to talk once again about our Tradesight Seeker tool, one of the most powerful tools in the market for predicting exhaustion and reversal points. And we're going to go through, I haven't done this for a couple months, so I thought I'd put one of these videos together and just see the state of the tool, at least when it comes to some of the daily charts of stocks over the last few months, and see how the tool's worked in terms of picking highs and lows, particularly highs in this case, because the market's been holding up fairly well. You see a lot of stocks kind of heading up and then rolling back over in some cases. So how good is the tool at picking those turning points in the market? And I'm going to show you first a couple of examples where it did not work. So in other words, I'm not suggesting that this is a 100% tool, but as we go through this presentation, maybe you can get your own sense of how powerful the tool is. So here's a look at the SRNE, and what you see here, if you look at the activity in the last couple months here going into July, these will all be daily charts. There was a 13 sell signal about a week into July, and then the stock broke out, looks like on some news of some sort, and ran higher. So that 13 was not a correct sell signal, obviously, on this stock. We are lower now. Maybe the news just propelled it a little bit higher and pulled it back. But in terms of the stock reversing lower off of that 13 sell signal, it did not work. You'll notice that there's, if you can barely see it behind that big white candle when it broke out there, there's a pink line that started to form. That's the risk line. So from the 13 signal, if you had shorted the stock, you would have had to stop over that pink line. So it's a very controlled risk when it doesn't work. And then the line stops drawing once it's broken. So you can barely see that pink line sticking out there. That was the stop out point on that one. Again, a couple that just didn't work, and we'll focus on that first. Here's the RDUS. Also got a signal a little earlier in July, and it broke it pretty quickly and held up for the rest of the month. Now it's back down now. I also want to point out, when we get these signals, the target is often, it's one of two things. I'm showing you one here, which is that red line. So we get the 13 signal. The target for the signal would be the red line. And even though the signal didn't really work here because it went higher first, we are back on that red line. So technically speaking, we've still gotten to where we should have been, but in a trading perspective, the signal did not work. Here's one. If you look back, INCY, go back to April here. We got a 13 sell signal. You can see it broke the pink line by a day or two, came back a bit, but really never pulled back much and went higher or flat after that. But as a signal, that didn't really work. I got two more for you here. SEIC. Look at this 13 signal late in July. Now, I will tell you, you can see the pink line on this one. The reason that pink line is so high, that risk line, is because there's such a big candle to get you to that 13, the one big day up. And the risk line is measured by adding a certain amount of energy based on the widest candle in the range. So technically, this one could still play out because it hasn't broken the risk line. But I would say, let's just be real. The signal's there and we're higher several weeks later. So that's not really what this signal is supposed to be about. It did not work in this case. And one more here, the NBIX, another example of a signal in the second week of July that didn't really work out. Yes, we're lower now, but it broke the risk line. A couple here that I would say are just sort of questionable looking back. This one, the 13 signal back in April, yeah, we did go lower for a month. Not much lower, though. That's the thing to notice. And then we finally went and curled up and broke the pink line. So while this one sort of worked and gave you the topping point, and yes, if you'd gotten your stop down as it moved down, it just didn't give you much of an opportunity. And then we'll look at this ATVI. Same sort of deal back in April. You got the signal. The risk line did not actually break. It did not close above that pink line immediately. So you did sort of head lower there going into the first week of May. The risk line ends when the line's finally broken. So you didn't get much of a move there. So there's 5 examples where it didn't work. 2 examples where it's questionable. It didn't lead to much. Now let's take a look at what did work and just see what the signal really means. So here's a look at MELY. 13 signal was back late in May in this case. The pink line would have been just over the highs of the earlier part of May. And you can see we are all the way down. Matter of fact, this one's now about to get a 13 buy signal on the chart. There you go, projection mode. Just got it today. Note that, again, it's the red line that is the ultimate target off of the signal. If you get 9 bars down the green count before you get to the red line, that can also be the end of the signal. So you'll notice from the 13 in May, you look at all the trading in June, we start to head down in July, there's a new 9-bar count, green count there. Then we get a bounce because that is technically also the end of the signal, meaning it already worked enough. And then we continued lower anyways and got all the way down to this red target line. So both of the targets would have worked to exhaust the signal. Here's one. This is 1-800-Flowers, the stock's FLWS. Signal was back in March. I don't think you can get any better than that. The run up, and then you can see the move down. Hasn't gotten a new green 9-bar count to the downside, and it hasn't gotten to the red line. So technically, the sell signal is still in place and has not worked its magic, which means this thing still goes lower most likely. And keep in mind, the sell signal was up above 13, and that red line's at $7. So that's the stock almost falling in half, ultimately, to reach that, unless it maybe gets a 9-bar green count before then. But even then, you're going to be at $8 when that happens. So that obviously, very clean signal that worked. Here's the ODFL. I mean, I don't know what else to say there. That one made a move down and did get to the red line before. There's a 9-bar upward count, but not a 9-bar downward count. So it did ultimately reach the red line there. Here's Kite, K-I-T-E. This one's kind of cute. Looking at the 2 days up. Spike in March is what gave you the 13 sell signal. And where did we go from there? Straight down to the red line. And in that case, that also gave us a 9-bar green count to the downside. So both of the ways that the signal plays out hit the same day we hit the red line and got the new green count. So that did exactly what it was supposed to do. ALKS, again, 13 sell signal, and this one in February came down. Look at this, almost hits the red line on the same day that it gets the 9-bar green count to the downside. That's fulfilling the target there. So that one worked just fine. FLSR for solar. I mean, you don't get clearer than this, right? Pretty clean number here all the way down to both a new 9-bar downward count and ultimately to the red line. So they both hit on FSLR. CONN, C-O-N-N, another one. This one did not break the risk line, came down, hasn't quite hit the red line yet, but it also got a new 9-bar count. So either way, it fulfilled the goal to some extent and definitely topped out on that. You can't make this up. SGMS, the 13. Look at how the 13 is not even breaking to new highs, and then look how sharply it drops straight to that red line following the actual signal there. HMHC, this one was back in July, and that was the top. And obviously, look at how it went straight to the red line, got a little bounce, and then it's actually gone significantly lower, so the top was nailed. All right, the rest of these, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Most of them, this one was from July, but most of them from 9 of them from back over the last several months. The rest of these I'm going to show you are all from the last, within, like I'd say, July to August for the most part. And again, just so you know, I'll give you the count in advance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 more that I found. So 5 that didn't work, 2 that worked barely enough to count, and then we're going to have like 20 some that did. All right, so let's take a look. Some of these, the back 3 I'm saving are special in particular. Look at this, though. 13 sell signal in July, straight down to the red line exactly, and that's where we bounced. GILD, Gilead Services. This is a medical biotech stock, 13 sell signal. Actually, this is the end of June, obviously very clearly right to the day. This one hasn't hit the red line yet, but it's obviously the top. We don't have a count, so this thing still has downside to go, most likely. PFPT, 13 sell signal basically in July. One day where it tried to gap over, but it came back and didn't close above the pink line, and since then has then settled on, that's right, the red line. AMBA, you can't make that up. Look at that, 13 sell signal on the exact high candle, and now we're heading lower. RPXC, another one. Look at that, right at the end of June, the 13 signal ended up giving you the high. We haven't gotten a new 9-bar count to the downside. We haven't hit the red line yet. It's still got room to the downside, so stick with that direction if you're trading that stock. Broadcom, this is always interesting because the 13 was not making a new high, and yet obviously clearly it's been correct so far. We did already get a new 9-bar count to the downside, so potentially that's already run its course, but you can see where the red line is. If it does want to go lower, that would be the target. BCRX, look at this one. Run up like that in June, very sharp, gets you to the 10, 11, 12, 13. One more attempt to test those highs, fails, and now we roll over really sharply. I mean, that's just awesome, the way that nailed that. CMRX, 13 signal here in August. Can't get above the risk line, fails. Heading lower, still has not completed what that signal should give you. Tile, T-I-L-E, another company. There's the signal just earlier here in August, and obviously heading down so far. Again, has not completed the signal. Hawk, HAWK, August 1st or July 31st gave you the signal. Has been heading down ever since. INCR, another one, working. MHLD, and then I've saved the best three for last. This one came in about August 2nd, heading lower. Now, these are my favorite three. Take a look at this. This isn't getting better. CATY, one spike up day gives you the 13 signal, and that's it. So it literally the count exactly hit the spike up day. We were on count 13 when that happened, and that gave you the sell signal. POZN, look at that. 13 signal right at the end of July. Look how sharply it's coming in. Obviously, the red line. Now, this is another one of those stocks. The sell signal is up at 12 bucks. The red line is down at $6.50, almost 50% lower. But we're at least 6-7 bars into the new green 9 count. So, you know, we could complete the signal before we get to the red line, but it's obviously trying very hard to get there. And then last one, CSTE. This is remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. Nailed some bad news on the stock. The signal comes out right at the 28th of July, rolls over, and then on news just tanks, absolutely tanks. So those are the signals I could find on the daily charts using the Seeker over the last few months. There's just an update. We haven't done one of these for a while, so I thought I'd put it out there just to show you the power of the tool. And you know, it is somewhere above an 80% accuracy rate. I think if we just go off of these, got about 30 trades with 5 that didn't work. So that's about an 84% accuracy rate. I think that's a pretty good rate. We can use this tool intraday also. We do with our traders so that it can be just as useful from a day trading perspective. But when it comes to the daily charts and getting the right direction on key stocks, this signal is very, very useful in telling you where we're going. This has been a Tradesight Trade Recap. Thank you.